The combination of JP Sherry, a few weeks of barrister bureaucracy via email, and some common sense has allowed me to evade the lawsuit.
Put that coffee down.
Creators are leaders. Be careful what kind of leaders you're producing here.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
They realized that to be in power, you didn't need guns or money or even numbers. You just needed the will to do what the other guy wouldn't.
I'm not leaving. The show goes on.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartman. This episode is brought to you by the Simple Sales Pipeline. If you got salespeople and BDRs that are not consistently and with discipline organizing and valuing their future pipeline, the future growth of your company, if they're not doing this, they can solve it immediately. And they should. They should do this for all of you. So we know how the hell we're going to run our company and where the money's coming from. We should do this. You can solve this problem in 30 minutes or less per month for under $30 per month. How? Easy. Just go to thesimpleSalesPipeline.com. Well, it's been said that you're not really anyone in life until you've been sued. That's right. You've been officially served and you were involved personally in a lawsuit. And if that is the criteria that we are using to determine how important we are, well, I guess I've arrived. While traveling for client work recently, my wife answered the doorbell. A kindly octogenarian Marlboro Man doppelganger stood there, smiling. Cowboy hat, cigarette, belt buckle the size of a dinner plate. He said, "Is Brad home?" My wife said, "No, he isn't. Can I help you?" "Are you his wife?" And she said, "Yes." "Well, ma'am, all y'all been officially served." That's right. It was official. I was being sued. Now, for reasons I won't go into, I have given quite a bit of thought to what would happen and how I would react if and when I was involved in a lawsuit. And I believe sooner or later I would be. And I think sooner or later you will be too. So when it comes to lawsuits, I have a three-pronged defense strategy. Defense number one is the shaggy defense. In short, this defense is, it wasn't me. Those three words are the extent of this initial defense. Now, I cannot include a link to the song, if you are aware of this, because it is rather lewd. But if you know your pop culture, you know the song, and the main punchline is, yeah, exactly, it wasn't me. Defense number two is the Chewbacca defense. Only slightly more sophisticated than the shaggy defense, this defense is from the famous or infamous South Park episode where lawyer Johnny Cochran deliberately attempts to distract and confuse the jury.
Mr. Johnny Cochran, your closing arguments. Ladies and gentlemen of the supposed jury, Chef's attorney would certainly want you to believe that his client wrote Stinky Britches 10 years ago. And they make a good case. Hell, I almost felt pity myself. But ladies and gentlemen of this supposed jury, I have one final thing I want you to consider. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chewbacca. Chewbacca is a Wookiee from the planet Kishik. But Chewbacca lives on the planet Endor. Now think about that. That does not make sense. Damn it.
What?
He's using the Chewbacca defense. Why would a Wookiee, an 8-foot-tall Wookiee, want to live on Endor with a bunch of 2-foot-tall Ewoks? That does not make sense. But more importantly, you have to ask yourself, what does this have to do with this case? Nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with this case. It does not make sense. Look at me. I'm a lawyer defending a major record company, and I'm talking about Chewbacca. Does that make sense? Ladies and gentlemen, I am not making any sense. None of this makes sense.
All right, then. There you go. It worked for O.J. Simpson. Defense number three is the Joanne Galloway defense. If defenses one and two fail, I retreat to the greatest legal film of all time, A Few Good Men.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
I'm just kidding. The greatest legal films of all time are number one, To Kill a Mockingbird, followed by A Time to Kill with Texan Matthew McConaughey. Anyway, the Joanne Galloway defense is based on Lieutenant Commander Galloway, played by Demi Moore, and she strenuously objects after being overruled twice by the Honorable Judge Randolph. Her trial partner, Sam Weinberg, is not impressed.
I strenuously object. Is that how it works? Objection, overruled. No. No, I strenuously object. Oh, wow. Strenuously object, and I should take some time to reconsider.
If all three defenses fail, I then turn to my personal board of directors. Now, I'm sure you're aware of the role of a board of directors. In the corporate setting, they exist to help executives identify goals, develop strategy, and evaluate risk. In short, the board helps the CEO and the executive team think through and lead the business intelligently. Now, the role of a personal board of directors, it's similar, but it's just for you. And your personal board of directors will be comprised of talented people you know and trust who can help you think through and lead your life intelligently. Now, my personal board of directors is broken down into 8 categories, and those are legal, obviously, financial, personal, medical, sales, design, leadership, and general business. So I'm going to break down my personal board of directors for you. First up, obviously, given my current situation, is legal. And on my personal board of directors is Mr. J.P. Sherry Esquire. Now, he's the pit bull I turn to for my lawsuit. And he was the guest on episode 82 of the Construction Leadership Podcast.
I think that we're all looking for unicorns, right, in our businesses. We like to believe as the leaders of businesses or entrepreneurs that we're unicorns and we're trying to recognize the other unicorns. But the reality is that those people are few and far between. I don't think that you can train someone to be a unicorn. And I've learned that the hard way. I believe that there are certain things that you can do through structure, through training sessions, trying to empower your employees to do more and incentivize. But at the end of the day, when you're dealing with people who are grown men and women, I just don't believe that you can get them to change certain fundamental ways that they go about their everyday lives.
Category number 2 is financial. And for that, I turn to my brother. He understands our goals and the game my wife and I are playing financially. Category number 3 is personal. For that, I turn to my friend and builder, Bobby Kruger. He's a great listener. He withholds judgment. He's the guest of episode 241 of the Construction Leadership Podcast. And no, not all my directors join the podcast, but many have.
Competition is very important. You got to make sure that you go out to multiple people in the marketplace to understand, all right, is this market? Am I getting a good market price, or am I getting kind of a screw you price? I'm willing to give you the work if you pay that. Right. So I think that's important. So that's number 1. Number 2, you always want to align yourself with the right partners. And I always had this when I'm on conversations, when I meet with subcontractors, suppliers, vendors, I'm like, this is a partnership, right? Even if it's one project, it's still probably a 3-year relationship, right? By the time we had a phone call today with our drywall supplier, we signed him up in August of 2021. He called me this week and said pricing went up $18,000. I'm like, that's awesome. We already signed a contract. So you need to go back to whoever getting the drywall and say, we're not paying it, right? And he's like, well, I can't because, and I was like, listen, we signed a contract. I gave you my word. I signed a contract. You gave me your word, and you have to honor that.
Category number 4 on my personal board of directors is medical. And for this, I turn to Bobby's better half. Her name is Katie. Her advice has been invaluable as my family has grappled with breast cancer, strokes, and the occasional wart. Category number 5 is sales. When I need to think through my thinking when it comes to sales for my own company, for our clients, I call Mr. Tim Rethlake. And now, that's right, you can too. He just opened his own shop. It's called Traction, as in Traction Coaching. You can go to tractioncoaching.com. The TR is capitalized because his initials are TR, Tim Rethlake, Traction. Get it? TR, action. There's so many levels here. Tim is the only person ever to take my place as the host of my own podcast.
When you're the one making the decisions, how does spec builds work? Do you you look at the property and you go, okay, here's what I think the market will bear on a sell price, and then you back down off of that and go, here's the features to put in and what to take out. When you have to make those kind of business decisions, what informs those decisions?
It's understanding early on your market, and depending on where you operate and what market you're in, somebody on your team has to be the expert or multiple people on the team. So I think, by and large, probably anyone I know or any of these colleagues here with us that are successful developers, builders, they know their market pretty well, but they're also savvy business people. So they're moving maybe from a neighborhood to a different neighborhood or a different product type to something else. And I don't think they're too arrogant or foolish to not take the thoughts and ideas of key team members.
Category number 6 is design. For that, I turn to my friend. He's brilliant. His name is Jason Hines. And his referrals to other talented designers we work with often, like Laurel Lunsford, they have shaped our business going back to 2011. Category number 7 is leadership. Tricky. That is the word my friend Carl Moyer, the HR director at Parr Lumber in the Pacific Northwest, guest of episode number 217. Tricky is the word he uses to describe the act of leading and managing people. Carl's thoughtful advice has been invaluable to me over the years to my personal leadership thinking. Category number 8 is business. They say luck is the flip side of risk, and my understanding of both has been deepened through my relationship with strategy guru Rich Horwath. I lucked into having Rich as a strategy professor in my MBA program way back in 2008, and he's been a mentor ever since. Now, as Rich has done and other people on this list often do, they give away content freely to help our community. And Rich, over the last several years, has realized that we have IQ for an intelligence quotient, and we have EQ for emotional quotient. Well, he's developed his own assessment to identify and improve an SQ. That would be a strategic quotient. Rich defines the word strategic as possessing insight that leads to advantage. And he writes in this white paper that we're going to make available. You can click to download this in the show notes. He says, simply put, an insight is a learning that leads to new value. Advantage is inherently an element of strategy. An insight that leads to advantage. He goes on, when we use this definition of strategic, it helps us clarify what is and is not strategic. A person or plan could be strategic because both have the potential to possess insight that leads to advantage. The word strategic is plastered in front of a lot of other words to make them sound important, but their meanings don't hold up. Phrases such as strategic objective or strategic imperative, which, by the way, I hear both of those all the time, are examples of terms that sound proper, but don't pass the test of being able to house and leverage learnings. Eliminate the overuse of the term strategic, and you'll clarify and simplify communication amongst your team. So that is why he developed, and he's making available to you for free, to measure your own SQ, your strategic quotient. It's a measure of your strategic capabilities as exhibited through your mindset and behaviors. Your strategic capabilities consist of how you think, plan, and act strategically. He says the good news is that each of these areas of being strategic can be developed and improved with deliberate practice. He writes, if your IQ gets you hired and your EQ gets you promoted, then your SQ, your strategic quotient, gets you to the C-suite. So I did exactly what I'm recommending you to do. Download this white paper. It's really short. The title is What's Your Strategic Quotient? SQ, ? And what you can do is read that. Anytime you read something like this and can better understand what strategy is, which is how you are going about to deliberately achieve the goals and objectives you have, the more you can communicate better and speak confidently about this improves your ability to lead, which is what this podcast is all about. So I downloaded this white paper, read through it, and then I went and I took this SQ for free. And you could do the exact same thing. I completed it. It took, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. And then it broke down the scores, gave it back to me. And as it probably should have, it was kind of a kick to the ribs because I can and should be doing better. But it gave me, for the first time, a baseline for me to improve in the future to be more strategic. And I want to, and I need to for my team and for our clients. So in the show notes, you can download the white paper. You can also click the link to take your own SQ assessment, strategic quotient. And again, this is 100% free. You get the results back. I promise you, there's no bait and switch here. Go do this, figure out where your baseline is, and you can become better. All right, then, back to my lawsuit. The combination of JP Sherry, a few weeks of barrister bureaucracy via email, and some common sense has allowed me to evade the lawsuit. That's right. I'm not being sued anymore. The shaggy defense is the truth. It wasn't me. Now, some Brad Hartman out there with only one N in his last name, not Bradley, that's for sure. He's going to get served soon for his supposed role in some Florida Homeowners Association case from 2021. So for Brad's sake, I hope he has developed his own personal board of directors, and you should too. All right then, friends, that's all I've got for you today. Think about the people in your life that support you, that care about you, that trust you, that want you to do better, that want you to be successful, and make sure that they know how much you value them and that they are on your literal or maybe figurative personal board of directors. We're going to close out like we always do. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great week.